So good afternoon. My name is Shannon Leary, and I'm the Executive Director here at Employment Options. And we are launching an online series called Riding the Wave of Hope, where we will be interviewing thought leaders, political figures, and mental health experts throughout the month for mental health awareness. And today we are thrilled to welcome JC Monahan. So JC is a renowned broadcaster who started her career back in Maine, WCON. She joined WCVB as a meteorologist back in 2001. She's also was a host of shows like The Eye Opener in Midday. And now, since 2017, she has joined NBC 10. She has won numerous awards as a broadcaster and meteorologist, including Edward R. Murrow Award. I hope I said that correctly. And she is also, her probably most important job, a mom to two daughters. So JC, welcome so much. Welcome. We're so excited that you're here.
I'm excited too. Thank you.
It's great. So thank you so much for taking the time. We're thrilled that you're with us today, and you're our first guest for our Riding the Hope series. So welcome.
Very honored. Thank you.
So let's just jump right in. So the first question is, why did you decide to go public with your story in Boston Magazine?
The simple, straight answer is the pandemic. So that would be the blunt answer. The longer form would be, it was an incredibly difficult decision to make. It was one I never had intended in any way, shape, or form to ever do. I just have always felt like that, everybody has their stuff. So I didn't think mine warranted, any extra attention, let's just put it that way. So, but the pandemic hit, and I was just emerging and getting really healthy at that point. And so there I was getting healthier. At the same time, I'm telling stories and reading stories about the pressure of the pandemic and mental health and what it was doing to people. And it made me think back, okay, if this was 2 years ago, how would I have done this? I'm not sure how I would have done this. And then I was hearing about suicides, and it probably sounds ridiculous, but I'd had enough. Like, This was making me angry now. And we lost someone close to us here at NBC. And I just said, it is to me the craziest, stupidest thing that this is something we don't talk about. And I don't know who made that decision. And I don't know when that decision was made, but it's absolutely asinine, period. So that's when I was like, you know what, throwing it all out the window. And I was, of course, nervous. I had no idea how it would be received. I had no clue what the reflection would be back. And my biggest concern was she's attention seeking, which is, the last thing, and makes me incredibly uncomfortable. But that's why I was just trying to point out in the piece is that this is happening under the surface, and there is 100% chance somebody who's dealing with this. And that was the point. Writing the article, hoping, honest to God, the last line says, I really just hope this reaches one person who will pick up the phone and call somebody that maybe they're concerned about, who will pick up the phone and call somebody who maybe they're concerned about, and do it that way. So that's where the strength of being able to write the article, and also because I'm quote unquote healthy, like because I'm in a healthy place, I could reflect back and look at it.
Sure, absolutely. And we are in total agreement as an organization that supports mental health and individuals and families in mental health recovery. It's so important to sometimes say it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to reach out to your support systems. And we were actually listening to some recent data that over 45% of adults through the pandemic experienced a mental health condition, and 80% of young adults through the pandemic had experienced either anxiety or depression. So if those numbers, for folks who are watching this, if every alarm bell does not go off in your head that we're hitting this kind of mental health tsunami as we're coming out of hopefully COVID and the pandemic, that this is an issue we strongly feel that everyone should be concerned about. So
younger and younger, from my understanding.
correct.
That it's impacting. I don't know that everybody realizes that younger kids can be carrying this burden, and they're dealing with it as 8-year-olds. So that I think has been spotlighted more because of the pandemic.
We absolutely agree. So in your article, JC, you talked about your depression, and you talked about really your journey. And one particular part was that you felt like that you were not able to really fight this disease on your own. So could you touch upon the importance of your own support network, your natural supports, and how they really played a part in your story?
It took me too long to figure out that I couldn't do it alone. It's in my DNA to always think that I can fight through whatever it is. But I think what looking back is that if I had a heart condition, I would not chin up and think I could do it alone. And I would get the help that I needed, and I would talk to people about it. So, but for me, my experience was when I call it like I go dark, or the dark tunnel that you're in. When I'm in there, it's dark and lonely, and I also felt like nobody's going to understand this. So what am I even going to say? I didn't even know the words necessarily. And it also can be all from my experience. You certainly all know far more than I do, but it's a slow progression at times. So I didn't even really notice how bad it was getting along the way. And so again, the reason I didn't reach out. So what I finally, and that's why I say it took me too long, because I sort of hit rock bottom. What I finally learned was, no, you actually need to get people involved, and your family needs to know, and your friends need to know. And I did have a therapist. So, I was connected. It's just that's like your private doctor, confidential chit chat, and then you go back out into the real world, so to speak, and you're pretending like what the little talk that you just had for an hour didn't happen. You know what I mean? Like that, that's gone. Now I can just go and live the rest
and you
of the
put
day.
on your happy, brave face, and
it's easy to do. And I think it also keeps people from getting help for a long time, because there is pull yourself up by the bootstraps and just suck it up, for lack of a better word.
Right. So touching upon that, do you think obviously that there is stigma still associated with mental health? And if you feel that way, why?
Yes, and why? I'm still waiting for somebody to be able to explain to me why. Absolutely, 100%. The thought for me, I had about how this was going to impact my girls first and foremost, and then I'm talking about it publicly, how it was going to impact that, how it might impact my job in terms of the perception, and because of the stigma. So, and that finally, like I said, I just said enough. Like I actually don't care anymore about that. So that's not going to stop me from trying to help people. But the stigma, I try to wrap my head around it, but I'm like, if you don't have good mental health, it's cliche, but it's like, then you don't have good health, like period.
Totally true. Totally true.
If you don't start talking about it as you would your allergies,
right,
or whatnot, then it's not, we're not going to get anywhere with that. So the stigma to me is a lot of it. I think people are scared. I think people who not a doctor, and everybody knows more here, but in my experience, it's either people who don't want to think about their own issues. So it's a repel, because if you're being introspective and you're thinking about, what you're going through, and you have somebody who doesn't want to do that, then that's like a way for somebody to kind of block you. And then the other stigma is that somehow you're not reliable, stable.
Right.
It's incredible that, and I think I never thought of it this way, because I don't think of myself as being different from anybody else. But I do realize now, after getting feedback, is that I've accomplished a lot that people have been able, that's public, right? So now I say these things, and it's my way of saying, but look, I did all of this. You can't take away everything I've done just because I'm now telling you that during all of that, I also had this disease.
Right.
So I think that my concern was going forward, will people understand that that's going to keep going? I'm still going to work that hard, and I'm still going to keep moving forward. And like I said, eventually I'm like, well, you know what? If an employee didn't want me because of that, employer, then I probably don't want to work for them.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, we absolutely feel the same way. And as you're talking, I was thinking about, JC, a story that I heard probably a good 10 years ago from a woman who was a breast cancer survivor. And she had said when she had her first diagnosis, neighbors and friends, it's that, casserole disease, right? You drop off meals and food, and can I help get your kids to basketball practice? And then she said she recovered, and she was doing well, but she definitely had a bout of pretty severe depression, and had reached out to some neighbors and some friends. And she said, and the casseroles never came. And that just stuck with me. And I thought that whether people, again, are afraid, they don't know what to say, that people feel bad. So I just thought, as you're sharing that, it's so very true that I feel like we've shifted. I think we've moved the needle a little bit, but I think we have a lot of work that we still need to do.
Absolutely. And actually, what you just said is something I've said to people as well, which is that nobody rallies around it. People don't understand it, and how debilitating it can be, and how much more you need support, because it's an insidious disease that will take you down the longer you're alone, or the longer you feel isolated. And there is no Hallmark card for this, there's a Hallmark card for just about everything, but like there isn't one really for this. And no, I had said that, like, people here unfortunately have had some health battles, and the troops circle, and it's fantastic. But I was out for 2 months, and it's not a criticism of anyone, but I really didn't hear from anyone. And part of that, I'm sure, is because I'm private, and maybe they thought, but there was definitely an element of, we don't really know what's going on there, so we're just gonna stay on back. And
right. And sometimes that's easier for folks, right? That's easier to do, and kind of put up this wall, and not knowing what to say or how to say it, or and we talk about all the time, sometimes it means just reaching out and saying, hey, are you okay? Hey, just a text, a phone call, I think makes such a difference. Sometimes just to listen, through the pandemic, we've shared as well that in my own personal circles and professional circles, I've had women who are professional, incredibly intelligent moms who they really struggled. I had no idea. Late at night, there were these text messages of, I am in a really bad, dark place. It's really about checking in with your circles, and especially now, I think it's incredibly important. So
I think that, and one thing I just would love for people to know is, first of all, if you reach out to somebody who just is the kind of response back that feels good, that's not a reflection of you, that's their discomfort, and keep doing it. That's not a reason to stop. But also, you might be surprised, as I was, that once this was out, I can't even forget the incredible online response of people, but in my circle, whether they're close friends or acquaintances or coworkers, everybody seemed to be dealing with some level of it, and nobody was talking about it. And I sit next to them, like, you know what I mean? There's one person like right here.
Right.
And I thought, well, here we could have sat and just give each other that look. It's like, everything good? It doesn't have to be a therapy.
Right.
session.
A long drawn out conversation.
Yeah,
Sure.
I mean, that's the other thing that I think we know this, is that the person like myself, I have to do the work. I'm the one who has to do the work. I have to, the friends need not feel that just because they're being supported that somehow, or make me happy, just like I go back to heart disease. You don't need to, solve the problem, just hold my hand while I'm going through a difficult time.
Right.
So that's how but I was surprised. I was just so surprised.
Right. Absolutely. And so many people have been touched through this pandemic. And that's why I think these conversations are so incredibly important. And so what advice, JC, would you give to anyone who's watching our interview today, especially women who may feel embarrassed or shame about reaching out for help? What advice would you give them?
I would just, right back to what I just said, you would be shocked. I think you'd be overwhelmingly surprised at how many people in your circle are dealing with the same thing and just not talking about it. And I understand the hesitancy, and I understand, if you're a parent or your job or whatever, that you're concerned. And I think you have to reach out at your comfort level and how that works for you. But my basic line is, why not? I mean, do you think it's going to get better if you don't? I mean, do you really want to live like this? And those were thoughts I'd say to myself. But the problem is, right? No, you're drowning, and you're sitting there drowning and going, do I want to live like this? No, but like I'm putting all my energy into this.
Right. You're trying to scoop the water out of the, out of the boat, right? As you're kind of going down. Absolutely.
Yes. So if you have, you need a lifeline. You just need somebody to throw you the buoy. And my point is, if you're worried and it's holding you back and you're scared of who to open up to, one step at a time, but you got to give thought to, do you really want to live the way you're living now? Because it doesn't just go away. It just doesn't, it's a disease.
Absolutely. And that's why I think resources and reaching out are so important right now. Just making sure that you have those lifelines, and that, again, the resources are available in the community for folks that really are struggling through this pandemic and beyond. And so just to wrap up, what would be one thing that you would like the audience to know about you? What's one fun thing? Let's end it on a fun note.
Oh, a fun thing? Like totally not related?
Like totally not related. Like what would be your superpower? What would be your superpower, JC?
What would be my superpower? To figure out teenagers would be one, since I have a 14-year-old. So right off the top of my head, I would say that. But you know what? Just sort of tying it all together, like I love life. I have two beautiful girls, and I have a job I love, and I was a dancer for a long time, and so I have passions in life, and I want to keep enjoying those. So one thing I did, if you look at my Instagram, as I'm digging myself out of the dark hole, there's a picture of me in my point shoes. I look ridiculous because I'm, almost 50 years old and I'm putting on point shoes, but that was one of those things where I was like, you know what? These make me super happy. And I haven't done this. Yes. And it was silly or whatever, but I love Oreos, by the way. That's not it. I have a slight addiction. It's manageable. My kids keep me in check. But if there's a box of Oreos in the house, it doesn't last long. I just thought you'd want to know that.
I love that. That is a nice fun fact about you. Now, are you still dipping them in the milk, or are you a pull
Oh, no,
apart kind of
I'm a
girl, or-
purist. No. You
Just,
have to separate.
yes.
It's never to be eaten together. It is separated, but you do not interact with any other thing. And this idea that you should put other flavors in, and pumpkin and whatever in Halloween,
Right,
is
right.
an affront to all serious Oreo lovers.
I love it. I
Just
love
saying.
it.
Don't mess with them.
Don't mess with the Oreos. I agree. No, absolutely. Don't mess with a good thing. Very
No.
true. Well, JC, again, I know that your time is so valuable, and we appreciate you jumping on with us today and sharing your story. And it's been incredibly moving. And I hope for folks that are watching, it does touch at least one person. So thank you so much. And I hope you'll stay connected to us in the future.
Absolutely. And I just hope people know that there are people out there. They want to help. And, you don't have to do it alone.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you so much for your time.
Bye.
Thank you.